Before we begin, take a breath. Feel the air moving in and out. You are not your thoughts, not your past, not even the story that brought you here. If this moment feels quiet, that is not emptiness, it is space. And in that space, you begin to wake up. If you wish to explore this depth of awareness, to live from stillness rather than from noise, subscribe and let us journey into the now together. There is a longing that lives beneath every human action, every word spoken, every silence held. It moves through you like breath itself, so constant that you have forgotten to notice it. This longing is not born from lack, though the mind will tell you otherwise. It is not a wound seeking healing, though it may feel that way when you are lost in thought. This longing is the very essence of what it means to be alive, to be conscious, to exist as awareness experiencing itself through form. It is the desire to love and to be loved, and yet even these words cannot capture what it truly is, for it exists before language, before concept, before the story of who you think you are. Listen now, not with your mind, but with something deeper. Can you feel it? That subtle pull toward connection, toward recognition, toward home? It has been with you since before you learned your name, since before you understood separation. As an infant, you knew this longing without knowing that you knew. You reached toward warmth, toward presence, toward the eyes that saw you. And in being seen, something in you relaxed. Something recognized itself. But then the world taught you to think. It taught you to become someone, to build an identity, to protect and defend and achieve. The mind, beautiful and brilliant as it is, began to weave stories about who you are and who you are not. It created boundaries where none existed. It learned to say mine and yours, me and them, love and fear. And slowly, so slowly you did not notice, the simple longing to love and be loved became complicated. It became conditional. It became a transaction, a negotiation, a battlefield of needs and expectations. The ego, this sense of separate self, does not understand love. It cannot. For love is the dissolution of separation, and the ego exists only as separation. So the ego seeks something it calls love, but what it truly seeks is validation, completion, security. It seeks to fill the hole it has created by believing itself to be separate. And so you find yourself searching, always searching, for the person who will finally make you whole, the achievement that will finally make you worthy, the experience that will finally make you enough. But have you noticed? No matter what you find, no matter who loves you or what you accomplish, the longing remains. It may quiet for a moment, for a day, for a season. But it returns, doesn't it? Like a whisper beneath every satisfaction, every joy, every moment of connection. And the mind says, not enough. Not yet. Keep searching. And so you do. What if I told you that this longing is not a problem to be solved? What if the very search for love is what keeps you from recognizing that you are already, always, held in love? Not the love of another person, though that may come and go like weather. Not the love you must earn or deserve or fight for. But the love that is the very ground of existence itself, the love that breathes you, that beats your heart, that grows your hair and heals your wounds without your conscious effort. Feel the weight of your body right now. Feel how it is held by something you cannot see. The earth beneath you, yes, but more than that. The invisible force that keeps planets in orbit, that holds galaxies together, that maintains the precise distance between electrons and nucleus in every atom of your being. Is this not love? This fundamental force that holds all things in relationship, that prevents the universe from flying apart into chaos? The scientists call it gravity, call it the strong force, the weak force, electromagnetism. But what are these if not the universe's way of holding itself together, of maintaining connection, of refusing to let go? And your breath, this simple movement of air in and out, in and out. You do not make it happen. It happens through you, as you, for you. Even now, as these words reach you, your lungs expand and contract, your blood carries oxygen to every cell, your heart beats its steady rhythm. Who is doing this? Who is loving your body into existence moment by moment? When you sleep, when you forget yourself entirely, who continues this loving maintenance of your form? There is an intelligence at work here that the thinking mind cannot grasp. It is too simple, too obvious, too present. The mind wants complexity, wants problems to solve, wants to figure things out. But this intelligence requires no figuring. It simply is. And it is love, though not love as the mind understands it. Not love as emotion or sentiment or attachment. But love as the fundamental yes to existence, the unconditional allowing of what is. Now, bring your attention to the one who is listening to these words. Not the thoughts about the words, but the awareness in which the words appear. Can you find it? It has no location, no boundary, no beginning or end. It is not inside your head, though the mind will insist it is. It is not separate from what it perceives. It is the space in which all experience arises and dissolves, the silent witness that has been present for every moment of your life, unchanged by the changing content of experience. This awareness, this consciousness that you are, has never not been loved. It has never been separate from love. For it is love recognizing itself, awareness aware of awareness, the universe experiencing its own existence through the particular form you call yourself. The longing you feel is not the longing of lack, but the longing of love to know itself more fully, to recognize itself in every face, every tree, every moment of existence. But the mind, the beautiful, troubled mind, has forgotten this. It has become so identified with thought, with the voice in the head, with the story of me and my life, that it believes itself to be separate. And from this belief in separation comes all suffering. For how can that which is whole feel anything but pain when it believes itself to be broken? How can that which is love itself feel anything but longing when it believes itself to be unloved? Watch your thoughts for a moment. Not to change them, not to judge them, but simply to see them. Notice how they move, how they comment, how they narrate your experience. I like this. I don't like that. This is good. That is bad. I need this. I fear that. On and on, the endless stream of mental commentary. And notice something else. Notice that you are aware of these thoughts. You are not the thoughts themselves, but the awareness in which they appear. This is the beginning of awakening, this simple recognition. You are not your thoughts. You are the space in which thoughts arise. And in that space, in that awareness, there is no separation. There is no one who needs to be loved, for there is only love itself, appearing as awareness, appearing as this moment, appearing as the one who reads these words and the words themselves and the silence between them. The ego cannot understand this. It will resist. It will say, but what about me? What about my needs, my desires, my life? And this is natural. The ego is not your enemy. It is simply a case of mistaken identity, consciousness believing itself to be a separate entity, awareness forgetting its true nature. You do not need to fight the ego, to destroy it, to transcend it through effort. You need only to see it clearly, to recognize it for what it is. A thought pattern. A habit of mind. A story that has been told so many times it seems real. And when you see it clearly, something shifts. Not through doing, but through seeing. The story loses its grip. The identification loosens. And in that loosening, you discover what has always been here, what has never left, what cannot leave because it is what you are. Presence. Stillness. The quiet joy of simply being, without needing to be anyone in particular, without needing anything to be different than it is. This is where love lives. Not in the future when you finally find the right person or achieve the right thing. Not in the past when things were better or different or easier. But here, now, in this moment that is all there ever is. The moment that is always fresh, always new, always untouched by the stories the mind tells about it. Feel the aliveness in your hands right now. Not the thought about your hands, but the actual sensation, the subtle tingling, the warmth or coolness, the sense of energy moving. This aliveness is not separate from you. It is you. It is consciousness experiencing itself as form, as sensation, as this particular expression of existence. And it is always here, always available, always offering itself to your attention if you are willing to drop out of the mind and into the body, out of thought and into presence. The body knows what the mind has forgotten. It knows how to be here, how to exist without resistance, how to accept what is. Watch a tree in the wind. Does it resist the wind? Does it tell itself stories about how the wind should not be blowing, about how it prefers calm days, about how unfair it is that storms come? No. It simply moves with the wind, bends with it, dances with it. And when the wind stops, it returns to stillness without complaint, without clinging to the movement that has passed. This is the wisdom of presence, the intelligence of the now. It does not resist what is. It does not argue with reality. It simply allows, accepts, embraces. And in that allowing, there is a peace that surpasses understanding, a joy that needs no reason, a love that asks nothing in return. But the mind says, this is not enough. I need more. I need someone to love me, to see me, to validate me. And so you go out into the world seeking, searching, hoping. And perhaps you find someone. Perhaps they look at you with eyes that seem to see you, that seem to recognize something in you. And for a moment, the longing quiets. For a moment, you feel complete. But then the mind begins its work again. It begins to fear. What if they leave? What if they stop loving me? What if I am not enough? And so you begin to perform, to manage, to control. You try to be what you think they want you to be. You hide the parts of yourself you fear they will not accept. You build walls and wear masks and forget, once again, who you truly are. And the other person, they are doing the same. They too are lost in the story of separation, seeking completion through you, fearing abandonment, performing their own version of who they think they should be. And so you have two egos trying to love each other, two stories trying to merge, two separate selves trying to become one. And it cannot work. Not because love is impossible, but because this is not love. This is need masquerading as love, fear masquerading as love, the ego's desperate attempt to fill the hole it has created. True love, the love that is your nature, does not need anything. It does not seek completion because it is already whole. It does not fear loss because it knows itself to be that which cannot be lost. It does not cling or grasp or demand because it recognizes itself in all things, as all things. When you love from this place, from presence rather than from ego, you do not love the other person because they complete you. You love them because you see yourself in them, because you recognize the same consciousness looking out through different eyes, the same awareness wearing a different form. And this love, this recognition, asks nothing. It does not need to be returned. It does not keep score. It does not say, "I will love you if you love me back." It simply loves because that is its nature, because love is what awareness does when it is not obscured by the mind's stories of separation. This does not mean you become passive or allow yourself to be mistreated. Presence is not weakness. It is the greatest strength, for it is rooted in truth rather than in the ego's need to be right or to win or to control. When you are present, you can say no with love. You can set boundaries without anger. You can walk away from what does not serve without resentment. Because you are not reacting from the wounded ego, but responding from the clarity of awareness. And here is the beautiful paradox. When you stop seeking love, when you stop trying to get something from others, when you rest in the recognition that you are already whole, already complete, already love itself, then love flows through you naturally, effortlessly. You become a presence that others feel, even if they cannot name it. You become a space in which others can relax, can drop their masks, can remember who they truly are. This is what it means to be a light in the world. Not through doing great things or achieving great status, but simply through being present, through allowing consciousness to shine through you without the distortion of ego. And in that presence, others find permission to be present too. The awakening of one becomes an invitation for all. But let us return to the longing, this fundamental desire to love and be loved. Can you see now that it is not a problem? It is not something wrong with you, not a weakness or a need that must be filled. It is the universe calling itself home, consciousness seeking to recognize itself, love longing to know itself more fully. And the fulfillment of this longing is not found in another person, not in any external circumstance, but in the recognition of what you already are. You are the love you seek. Not as a concept, not as a belief, but as a living reality. The awareness that is reading these words right now, the consciousness that is experiencing this moment, is not separate from love. It is love. It is the love that holds all things, that allows all things, that embraces all things without judgment or condition. And when you rest in this recognition, when you stop seeking and simply be, something miraculous happens. The world does not change, but your relationship to it transforms completely. The same situations that once caused suffering become opportunities for presence. The same people who once triggered your ego become mirrors reflecting your own consciousness back to you. The same moments that once seemed ordinary become infused with a quiet sacredness, a simple joy that needs no reason. Listen to the silence between these words. It is not empty. It is full, pregnant with potential, alive with presence. This silence is your true nature. The words come and go, thoughts come and go, experiences come and go, but the silence remains. It is the background against which all experience appears, the canvas on which life paints itself, the space in which the dance of existence unfolds. And in this silence, there is no longing because there is no separation. There is no one who needs to be loved because there is only love itself, vast and boundless and complete. The mind cannot grasp this. It will try. It will create concepts and beliefs and philosophies. But the truth is simpler than any concept, more immediate than any belief, more obvious than any philosophy. You are here. Now. Aware. This is it. This is the love you have been seeking. Not in some future moment of enlightenment, not in some perfect relationship or ideal circumstance, but here, in this ordinary, extraordinary moment of simply being. The mind will protest. It will say, but I still feel the longing. I still want to be loved by another. I still feel incomplete. And this is okay. You do not need to fight these feelings. You do not need to transcend them or rise above them. You need only to see them clearly, to recognize them as movements of thought, as patterns of conditioning, as the ego's story playing itself out. And in the seeing, in the clear awareness of what is, the identification begins to loosen. You are not the longing. You are the awareness of the longing. You are not the thought that says you are incomplete. You are the consciousness in which that thought appears. And this consciousness, this awareness, is already whole, already complete, already at peace. So what does it mean to live from this understanding? It does not mean you withdraw from the world, that you stop relating to others, that you become cold or detached. Quite the opposite. When you are no longer seeking love, you become capable of true love. When you are no longer trying to get something from others, you become capable of true giving. When you are no longer defending the ego, you become capable of true intimacy. For intimacy is not possible between two egos. The ego is always protecting, always defending, always maintaining its boundaries and its story. But when you rest in presence, when you recognize yourself as awareness rather than as the story of me, then the boundaries dissolve. Not the healthy boundaries that honor your body and your needs, but the psychological boundaries that keep you separate, that keep you lonely even in a crowd, that keep you searching even when you have found. In presence, you can meet another human being without agenda, without need, without the filter of past and future. You can see them as they are, not as your mind's projection of who they should be or who you want them to be. And in that seeing, in that clear perception unclouded by thought, there is love. Not the love of attachment or dependency, but the love of recognition, the love that sees the same consciousness in different form, the love that celebrates existence itself. This is the love that heals, that transforms, that liberates. Not because it tries to fix or change or improve, but because it accepts completely, embraces fully, allows totally. In the presence of this love, the other person can relax. They can stop performing, stop pretending, stop trying to be someone they are not. They can simply be, and in that being, they discover what you have discovered. That they are already whole, already complete, already love itself. But this discovery cannot be forced. You cannot make someone awaken. You cannot convince them with words or arguments or teachings. You can only be the presence, be the love, be the space in which awakening becomes possible. And even then, it is not your doing. Awakening happens when it happens, when consciousness is ready to recognize itself, when the suffering of separation becomes too great to bear and the mind finally surrenders its grip. Your role is simply to be present, to remain awake, to not get pulled back into the dream of separation. And this is not always easy. The pull of the mind is strong. The habits of thought are deep. The world around you is largely asleep, lost in the dream of ego, and it will try to pull you back into that dream. It will challenge your presence, trigger your conditioning, activate your old patterns. This is where practice comes in. Not practice as something you do to achieve a future state, but practice as a returning, again and again, to the present moment. When you notice you have been lost in thought, you return to the breath. When you notice you have been identified with the ego, you return to awareness. When you notice you have been seeking love outside yourself, you return to the recognition of what you are. And each time you return, the path becomes clearer. The recognition becomes more stable. The peace becomes more accessible. Not because you are getting better at something, not because you are progressing towards some goal, but because you are simply remembering what has always been true. You are awareness. You are presence. You are love itself, temporarily forgetting and then remembering, again and again, in an eternal dance of consciousness knowing itself. Now, let us go deeper into this recognition. Let us explore what it means to be awareness, to be consciousness, to be this presence that you are. Close your eyes if you can, or soften your gaze, and bring your attention inward. Not to any particular sensation or thought, but to the awareness itself, to the knowing presence that is always here. Notice that this awareness has no qualities. It is not light or dark, not large or small, not here or there. It simply is. It is the isness of existence, the amness of being, the pure subjectivity that can never become an object. You cannot see it because you are it. You cannot find it because you have never lost it. You cannot achieve it because you have always been it. And yet, the mind will try to grasp it, to understand it, to make it into something it can hold on to. This is the mind's nature. It wants to know, to categorize, to control. But awareness cannot be known in the way the mind knows things. It can only be recognized, realized, remembered. It is the knowing itself, not something that is known. Feel into this. Feel into the sense of being here, of existing, of awareness aware of itself. There is a subtle joy in this, is there not? A quiet contentment that needs no reason, no cause, no external circumstance. This is the joy of being, the happiness that is your nature when the mind is not creating problems, when the ego is not seeking or resisting or defending. This joy is not dependent on circumstances. It does not come and go with the changing conditions of life. It is always here, always available, always shining beneath the surface of experience like the sun behind clouds. The clouds of thought may obscure it, the storms of emotion may hide it, but it never leaves. It cannot leave because it is what you are. And when you rest in this joy, in this simple contentment of being, the longing for love transforms. It is no longer a desperate seeking, a painful lack, a hole that must be filled. It becomes a celebration, an overflow, a sharing of the abundance that you are. You do not love because you need something. You love because love is what naturally flows from presence, from awareness, from the recognition of unity. Think of the sun. Does it shine because it needs something from the earth? Does it withhold its light until the earth proves worthy? No. It shines because shining is its nature. It gives light and warmth freely, unconditionally, to all things equally. The flower and the weed, the saint and the sinner, all receive the same sunlight. This is the nature of true love. It does not discriminate. It does not judge. It does not choose some and reject others. It simply shines, and in that shining, all things are blessed. You are like the sun. When you rest in your true nature, when you recognize yourself as awareness rather than as ego, love flows from you naturally. Not as effort, not as duty, not as something you must do, but as the spontaneous expression of what you are. And this love transforms everything it touches, not by trying to change anything, but simply by being present, by shining the light of consciousness into the darkness of unconsciousness. But the ego will resist this. It will say, What about me? What about my needs? If I just give love without getting anything back, I will be depleted, used, taken advantage of. And this is the ego's fundamental misunderstanding. It believes that love is a resource, something finite that can be depleted. It believes that giving means losing, that loving means becoming less. But presence knows differently. Presence knows that love is not a resource but a reality, not something you have but something you are. You cannot run out of love any more than the sun can run out of light. The more you give, the more flows through you. The more you love, the more you become love itself. This does not mean you allow yourself to be mistreated or that you give endlessly to those who take without appreciation. Presence is intelligent. It knows when to give and when to withhold, when to stay and when to leave, when to speak and when to be silent. But these decisions come from clarity, not from the ego's fear or need. They come from a deep listening to what is, from an attunement to the intelligence of the present moment. When you are present, you can feel what is needed. Not through thinking about it, not through analyzing or strategizing, but through a direct knowing that arises from awareness itself. You can feel when someone is ready to receive, when they are open, when they are asking, even if they do not ask with words. And you can feel when they are closed, when they are not ready, when giving would be a violation of their process. This is the wisdom of love, the intelligence of presence. It does not force. It does not impose. It does not try to save or fix or rescue. It simply offers itself and allows the other to receive or not receive, to open or not open, to awaken or remain asleep. And there is no judgment in this, no disappointment, no sense of failure. For presence knows that each being is on their own journey, unfolding in their own time, and that all journeys lead eventually to the same destination. The recognition of what we are. So you see, the desire to love and be loved is not something to overcome or transcend. It is the very engine of awakening, the force that drives consciousness to know itself more fully. But it must be understood correctly. It must be seen for what it truly is. Not the ego's need for validation or completion, but awareness longing to recognize itself, love seeking to know itself, consciousness celebrating its own existence through the dance of relationship. And when you understand this, when you see this clearly, everything changes. You no longer seek love as something outside yourself. You no longer wait for someone to complete you or validate you or make you whole. You recognize that you are already whole, already complete, already the love you have been seeking. And from this recognition, you can truly love. Not from need, but from abundance. Not from fear, but from freedom. Not from the ego, but from presence. This is the love that the world needs. Not more romantic love, though that has its place. Not more familial love, though that too is beautiful. But the love that comes from presence, from awareness, from the recognition of our shared being. The love that sees beyond form to the formless, beyond personality to the essence, beyond separation to the unity that underlies all things. And how do you cultivate this love? How do you live from this recognition? Not through effort, not through trying to be loving or spiritual or enlightened, but through presence. Through returning, again and again, to this moment. Through feeling the aliveness in your body, the breath moving in and out, the awareness that is always here. Through seeing your thoughts without believing them, feeling your emotions without being consumed by them, experiencing life without the filter of the ego's story. This is the practice. Not a practice that leads somewhere, but a practice that reveals what is already here. And as you practice, As you return again and again to presence, something shifts. The identification with thought loosens. The grip of the ego weakens. The sense of separation dissolves. And what remains is what has always been here. Awareness. Presence. Love. But let us be clear. This is not a destination you arrive at. It is not a state you achieve and then maintain forever. Awakening is not an event but a process, not a goal but a direction. You will forget. You will get lost in thought. You will identify with the ego. This is natural. This is part of the dance. The important thing is not to never forget, but to remember more quickly when you do forget. To notice when you have been lost in a dream and to wake up, again and again, with gentleness and compassion. For the ego will judge you for forgetting. It will say, you should be more awake by now. You should be beyond this. What is wrong with you? But this is just the ego doing what the ego does. Creating problems, creating separation, creating a sense of inadequacy. Presence does not judge. It simply sees what is and accepts it completely. So when you notice you have been lost, do not judge yourself. Do not make it into a problem. Simply notice and return. Notice and return. This is the practice. This is the path. And each time you return, you strengthen the recognition. You deepen the realization. You stabilize the awareness that you are not the thinker but the awareness of thought, not the doer but the awareness of doing, not the separate self but the consciousness in which all selves appear. And as this recognition deepens, as this awareness stabilizes, you begin to see the world differently. You begin to see that everyone you meet is consciousness in disguise, awareness playing at being a separate self, love pretending to be separate from love. And in this seeing, compassion arises naturally. Not as a moral imperative, not as something you should feel, but as the natural response of awareness recognizing itself. For how can you judge another when you see that they are you? How can you hate another when you recognize the same consciousness looking out through different eyes? How can you feel separate when you know that separation is an illusion, a dream, a story the mind tells itself? This does not mean you condone harmful behavior. This does not mean you allow yourself to be mistreated or that you do not set boundaries. Compassion is not weakness. It is not passivity. It is the strength that comes from seeing clearly, from understanding deeply, from recognizing that all beings are doing the best they can from their level of consciousness. And some are deeply asleep, lost in the dream of ego, acting from fear and pain and unconsciousness. But you do not need to take on their unconsciousness. You do not need to react from your own ego, to meet their fear with your fear, their anger with your anger. You can remain present, remain aware, remain rooted in the recognition of what you are. And from that presence, you can respond with clarity, with wisdom, with love. Not the love that enables or rescues, but the love that honors truth, that respects boundaries, that allows each being their own journey. This is the love that transforms the world. Not through grand gestures or heroic actions, but through the simple presence of awareness in the midst of unconsciousness. Through the light of consciousness shining in the darkness. Through one person waking up and, in their waking, creating a space for others to wake up too. And you are that person. Not because you are special or chosen or better than others, but because you are reading these words, because something in you is responding, because consciousness is recognizing itself through the form you call yourself. This is not an accident. This is not random. This is consciousness calling itself home, awareness inviting itself to wake up, love longing to know itself more fully. So what will you do with this recognition? How will you live from this understanding? The answer is simple. You will be present. You will return, again and again, to this moment. You will feel the aliveness in your body, the breath moving in and out, the awareness that is always here. You will see your thoughts without believing them, feel your emotions without being consumed by them, experience life without the filter of the ego's story. And in this presence, you will love. Not because you should, not because it is the right thing to do, but because love is what naturally flows from awareness, from presence, from the recognition of unity. You will love the person in front of you, not because they are perfect or because they meet your needs, but because you see yourself in them, because you recognize the same consciousness wearing a different form. You will love the tree, the sky, the earth beneath your feet. Not with sentiment or emotion, but with the deep recognition that all of this is consciousness, all of this is awareness, all of this is love expressing itself in infinite forms. And in that recognition, the longing that has driven you all your life will finally be fulfilled. Not because you have found something outside yourself, but because you have recognized what you have always been. You are the love you seek. You are the awareness you long for. You are the presence you have been searching for in every face, every place, every experience. And now, in this moment, you can stop searching. You can rest. You can simply be. Feel the relief of this. Feel the weight lifting, the burden dissolving, the endless seeking coming to an end. Not because you have given up, not because you have resigned yourself to less, but because you have found what you were looking for. And it was never lost. It was always here, always you, always this simple, obvious, immediate presence of awareness. And yet, life continues. The world does not stop because you have awakened. The challenges do not disappear. The ego does not vanish. But your relationship to all of it changes. You are no longer at the mercy of circumstances, no longer a victim of your thoughts and emotions, no longer seeking something outside yourself to make you whole. You are the space in which life unfolds. You are the awareness in which all experience appears. You are the presence that remains unchanged while everything changes. And from this recognition, you can engage with life fully, passionately, joyfully, without losing yourself in it, without being consumed by it, without forgetting what you are. This is the freedom that awakening brings. Not freedom from life, but freedom in life. Not escape from the world, but full engagement with the world from a place of presence rather than from the ego's fear and need. You can work, play, love, create, all of it, but now you do it from awareness rather than from unconsciousness, from presence rather than from the dream of separation. And in this engagement, you become a force for awakening in the world. Not by preaching or teaching or trying to convince others, but simply by being present, by remaining awake, by allowing consciousness to shine through you. Others will feel this, even if they cannot name it. They will be drawn to your presence, to the peace that emanates from you, to the love that flows through you. And in your presence, they will find permission to relax, to drop their masks, to remember who they truly are. This is how consciousness awakens to itself. Not through one person achieving enlightenment and leaving the world behind, but through each person recognizing their true nature and living from that recognition, creating ripples of awareness that spread outward, touching others, inviting them to wake up too. It is a collective awakening, a global shift in consciousness, and you are part of it. Not as a separate individual doing something important, but as consciousness itself, recognizing itself through the particular form you call yourself. So do not underestimate the power of your presence. Do not think that your awakening is just for you, just personal, just small. Every moment of presence, every recognition of awareness, every return to the now contributes to the awakening of consciousness as a whole. You are not separate from the whole. You are the whole, expressing itself as this particular part, and what happens in the part affects the whole. This is the responsibility that comes with awakening. Not a burden, not a duty, but a natural response to the recognition of what you are. You cannot help but be present once you have tasted presence. You cannot help but love once you have recognized yourself as love. You cannot help but serve the awakening of consciousness once you have awakened to consciousness. But this service is not effortful. It is not something you do. It is something you are. You serve simply by being present, by remaining awake, by allowing consciousness to flow through you without the obstruction of ego. And this is enough. More than enough. For presence is the most powerful force in the universe. It is what transforms darkness into light, unconsciousness into consciousness, fear into love. Now, let us return once more to the longing, this fundamental desire to love and be loved. Can you feel it differently now? Can you sense that it is not a lack but a fullness, not a problem but a pointer, not something to overcome but something to understand? The longing is consciousness calling itself home. It is love seeking to know itself. It is awareness inviting itself to wake up. And the fulfillment of this longing is not found in any external circumstance, not in any relationship or achievement or experience. It is found in the recognition of what you are. Right here. Right now. In this moment that is all there ever is. You are awareness. You are presence. You are love itself. Not as a concept, not as a belief, not as something you must become, but as what you already are, what you have always been, what you cannot not be. And when you rest in this recognition, when you allow yourself to simply be what you are, the longing dissolves. Not because it is fulfilled by something outside yourself, but because you recognize that there is no outside, no separation, no other. There is only consciousness, only awareness, only love, appearing as all things, experiencing itself through all forms. This is the great secret, the ultimate truth, the final realization. And it is not hidden. It is not reserved for the special few. It is available to everyone, always, because it is what everyone is. The only thing that obscures it is the mind's story of separation, the ego's belief in being a separate self. And this story, this belief, is just a thought. It has no reality beyond the reality you give it by believing it. So stop believing it. Not through effort, not through trying to not believe, but through seeing it clearly. See the thought for what it is. A movement in consciousness. A pattern of energy. A story that has been told so many times it seems real. But it is not real. It is not true. It is not what you are. What you are is the awareness in which the thought appears. What you are is the consciousness that is aware of the story. What you are is the presence that exists before thought, during thought, and after thought. And this presence, this awareness, this consciousness, is love. Not love as emotion or attachment, but love as the fundamental yes to existence, the unconditional allowing of what is, the recognition that all things are expressions of the one consciousness, the one awareness, the one love. And when you know this, when you live from this, everything becomes sacred. The ordinary becomes extraordinary. The mundane becomes miraculous. The simple act of breathing, of walking, of being, becomes a celebration of existence itself. You do not need special experiences or peak states or mystical visions. You do not need to go anywhere or become anyone. You simply need to be here, now, aware, present. This is the teaching. This is the path. This is the way. And it is so simple that the mind misses it. The mind wants complexity, wants steps and stages and practices and techniques. But the truth is simpler than any technique, more immediate than any practice, more obvious than any teaching. You are here. You are aware. You are. This is it. This is the love you have been seeking. This is the home you have been longing for. This is the completion you have been searching for in every face, every place, every experience. And it has been here all along, waiting patiently for you to stop seeking and simply recognize what is. So stop. Right now. Stop seeking. Stop searching. Stop trying to become something other than what you are. And simply be. Feel the aliveness in your body. Feel the breath moving in and out. Feel the awareness that is aware of all of this. And rest in that awareness. Rest in that presence. Rest in that love. This is the invitation. Not to do something, not to achieve something, not to become something, but to recognize what you already are. And in that recognition, to live. To love. To be. Fully, completely, without reservation, without holding back, without the fear that comes from believing yourself to be separate. For you are not separate. You have never been separate. You cannot be separate. Separation is an illusion, a dream, a story the mind tells itself. And now, in this moment, you can wake up from that dream. You can see through that story. You can recognize the truth of what you are. And what you are is love. Not the love that needs something, not the love that seeks completion, not the love that fears loss. But the love that is the very ground of existence, the love that holds all things, the love that allows all things, the love that is all things. This is your true nature. This is what you have always been. This is what you can never not be. So rest in this. Rest in the recognition of what you are. And from this rest, from this peace, from this love, live your life. Engage with the world. Relate to others. Work, play, create, all of it. But do it from presence rather than from ego, from awareness rather than from unconsciousness, from love rather than from fear. And when you forget, when you get lost in thought, when you identify with the ego, do not judge yourself. Do not make it into a problem. Simply notice and return. Notice and return. This is the practice. This is the path. And each time you return, you strengthen the recognition. You deepen the realization. You stabilize the awareness that you are not the thinker but the awareness of thought, not the separate self but the consciousness in which all cells appear. And as this recognition deepens, as this awareness stabilizes, you will find that the longing transforms. It is no longer a painful seeking, a desperate need, a hole that must be filled. It becomes a gentle pull toward deeper recognition, toward fuller expression, toward more complete embodiment of what you are. It becomes the universe's way of calling itself home, of inviting itself to wake up more fully, of celebrating its own existence through the dance of consciousness knowing itself. This is the most fundamental human desire. Not to love and be loved as the ego understands it, but to recognize and be recognized as what we truly are. To see and be seen beyond form, beyond personality, beyond the story of separation. To know and be known as consciousness itself, as awareness itself, as love itself. And this recognition, this seeing, this knowing, is available right now. Not in some future moment when you are more spiritual or more awakened or more evolved. But now, in this moment, in the simple awareness that is reading these words, that is experiencing this moment, that is always here, always present, always aware. You do not need to wait. You do not need to prepare. You do not need to become worthy or ready or good enough. You already are what you seek. You already are the love you long for. You already are the awareness you have been searching for. And the recognition of this is not something you achieve. It is something you allow. You simply stop resisting what is, stop arguing with reality, stop believing the mind story of separation, and allow yourself to be what you already are. And in that allowing, in that surrender, in that letting go, you discover the peace that surpasses understanding, the joy that needs no reason, the love that asks nothing in return. You discover that you are home, that you have always been home, that you could never not be home. For home is not a place you go to. It is what you are. It is presence. It is awareness. It is this moment, exactly as it is. So welcome home. Welcome to the recognition of what you are. Welcome to the love that you have been seeking. Welcome to the presence that has been here all along, waiting patiently for you to stop seeking and simply see. You are awareness. You are consciousness. You are love itself. And now, in this moment, you know it. Not as a concept, not as a belief, but as a living reality, as immediate and obvious as the breath moving in and out, as the aliveness in your body, as the awareness that is aware of all of this. This knowing changes everything and nothing. The world continues as it was. The challenges remain. The ego still arises. But you are no longer identified with it. You are no longer lost in it. You are the space in which it all appears, the awareness in which it all unfolds, the presence that remains unchanged while everything changes. And from this space, from this awareness, from this presence, you can truly love. Not from need, but from abundance. Not from fear, but from freedom. Not from the ego's desire to get something, but from the natural overflow of what you are. You can love the person in front of you without needing them to be different. You can love the moment without needing it to be other than it is. You can love life itself, and all its beauty and pain, and all its joy and sorrow, and all its light and darkness. For you see now that it is all consciousness, all awareness, all love. The light and the darkness, the joy and the sorrow, the beauty and the pain, all of it is the one consciousness experiencing itself, exploring itself, knowing itself through infinite forms and experiences. And you are that consciousness. Not as a separate individual, but as the whole expressing itself as this particular part. This is the ultimate recognition. This is the final realization. This is the awakening that ends all seeking. Not because you have found something, but because you have recognized what you have always been. Not because you have achieved something, but because you have allowed yourself to be what you already are. Not because you have become enlightened, but because you have seen through the illusion of being unenlightened. And now, what remains? Only this moment. Only this breath. Only this awareness. And it is enough. More than enough. It is everything. It is all there is. It is what you are. So be it. Be this. Be the awareness that you are. Be the presence that is always here. Be the love that is your nature. Not as something you do, but as what you are. Not as an achievement, but as a recognition. Not as a future possibility, but as a present reality. And in this being, in this presence, in this love, live your life. Fully. Completely. Without holding back. Without the fear that comes from believing yourself to be separate. For you are not separate. You are the whole. You are consciousness itself. You are love itself. And this is not a belief or a concept or a philosophy. This is the truth of what you are, as immediate and obvious as the awareness that is aware of these words right now. Feel it. Not with your mind, but with your whole being. Feel the truth of what you are. Feel the presence that is always here. Feel the love that is your nature. And rest in that feeling. Rest in that presence. Rest in that love. This is the invitation. This is the teaching. This is the way. And it is so simple, so obvious, so immediate, that the mind cannot grasp it. But you are not the mind. You are the awareness in which the mind appears. You are the consciousness that is aware of thought. You are the presence that exists before, during, and after all experience. And this presence, this awareness, this consciousness, is what you have been longing for all your life. Not something outside yourself, not something you must find or achieve or become, but what you already are, what you have always been, what you can never not be. The love you seek is what you are. The home you long for is where you already are. The completion you search for is what you have always been. So stop searching. Stop seeking. Stop trying to become something other than what you are. And simply be. Be here. Be now. Be aware. Be present. Be love. This is all that is required. This is all that has ever been required. Not effort, not achievement, not becoming, but simply being. Being what you are. Being where you are. Being when you are. Which is always here, always now, always this moment. And in this moment, in this here, in this now, you are complete. You are whole. You are love itself. Not because you have done something or achieved something or become something, but because this is what you are. This is what you have always been. This is what you can never not be. So rest in this. Rest in the recognition of what you are. And let this recognition inform your life, guide your actions, shape your relationships. Not as a rule or a should or a must, but as a natural expression of what you are. When you know yourself as love, you cannot help but love. When you know yourself as awareness, you cannot help but be present. When you know yourself as consciousness, you cannot help but see consciousness in all things. This is the transformation that awakening brings. Not a change in what you are, but a recognition of what you have always been. Not a becoming, but a remembering. Not an achievement, but a realization. And this realization is available right now, in this moment, to anyone who is willing to stop seeking and simply see. Are you willing? Are you ready to stop the endless search and recognize what you already are? Are you prepared to let go of the story of separation and rest in the truth of unity? Are you open to the possibility that the love you seek is what you are, that the home you long for is where you already are, that the completion you search for is what you have always been? If so, then simply be. Be here. Be now. Be aware. And in that being, in that presence, in that awareness, you will find what you have been seeking. Not as something new, not as something added, but as what has always been here, always been you, always been this simple, obvious, immediate presence of awareness. And once you find it, once you recognize it, once you know it, you will laugh. You will laugh at the simplicity of it, at the obviousness of it, at the fact that you have been searching for what you already are. You will laugh at the cosmic joke, the divine play, the game of hide and seek that consciousness plays with itself. Hiding so completely that it forgets what it is, and then seeking itself in every face, every place, every experience, until finally it remembers. Until finally it recognizes. Until finally it comes home to itself. And this coming home is not an ending but a beginning. It is not the end of the journey but the beginning of true life. For now you can live without the burden of seeking, without the pain of separation, without the fear that comes from believing yourself to be a separate, vulnerable, isolated self. Now you can live from presence, from awareness, from love. And this changes everything. It changes how you relate to others. You no longer need them to complete you or validate you or make you whole. You can meet them as they are, without agenda, without need, without the filter of the ego's projections. You can see them clearly, love them freely, allow them completely. It changes how you relate to yourself. You no longer judge yourself or criticize yourself or try to fix yourself. You see that there is nothing wrong, nothing broken, nothing that needs to be different. You are already whole, already complete, already perfect as you are. Not perfect in the sense of flawless, but perfect in the sense of complete, of lacking nothing, of being exactly what you are meant to be in this moment. It changes how you relate to life. You no longer resist what is or wish things were different. You accept what is, embrace what is, allow what is. And in that acceptance, in that embrace, in that allowing, you find a peace that the mind cannot understand, a joy that circumstances cannot touch, a love that nothing can diminish. This is the gift of awakening. This is the fruit of presence. This is the result of recognizing what you are. And it is available to you right now, in this moment, if you are willing to stop seeking and simply see, if you are willing to stop becoming and simply be, if you are willing to stop searching for love and recognize that you are love itself. So let us sit together in this recognition for a moment. Let us rest in the awareness that is always here, always present, always aware. Let us feel the love that is our nature, the presence that is our home, the consciousness that is what we are. Breathe. Just breathe. And notice the one who is breathing. Not the body, not the mind, but the awareness that is aware of the breathing. This awareness is what you are. This presence is your true nature. This consciousness is your deepest identity. And it is not separate from anything. It is not isolated or alone or cut off. It is the one consciousness that appears as all things, that experiences itself through all forms, that knows itself through all experiences. You are not a separate wave on the ocean of consciousness. You are the ocean itself, temporarily taking the form of a wave, temporarily experiencing itself as separate, but never actually separate, never actually other than the whole. This is the truth. This is the reality. This is what you are. And when you know this, when you live from this, when you rest in this, everything changes. Not the external circumstances, not the content of your life, but your relationship to it all. You are no longer at the mercy of circumstances. You are no longer a victim of your thoughts and emotions. You are no longer seeking something outside yourself to make you whole. You are whole. You are complete. You are love itself. And from this wholeness, from this completion, from this love, you can engage with life fully, passionately, joyfully. You can work and play and love and create, all of it, but now you do it from presence rather than from ego, from awareness rather than from unconsciousness, from love rather than from fear. And this is the life you are invited to live. Not a life of withdrawal or detachment or spiritual bypassing, but a life of full engagement from a place of presence. A life where you can feel deeply without being consumed by emotion, where you can think clearly without being lost in thought, where you can love fully without being dependent on the other. This is the freedom that awakening brings. Not freedom from life, but freedom in life. Not escape from the world, but full participation in the world from a place of awareness rather than from unconsciousness. And this freedom is your birthright. It is what you are. It is what you have always been. You need only recognize it. So recognize it now. Not tomorrow, not when you are more ready, not when circumstances are better, but now. In this moment. In this breath. In this awareness that is aware of these words. You are free. You are whole. You are love itself. And this is not something you must become. It is what you already are. And as you recognize this, as you rest in this, as you live from this, you become a light in the world. Not by trying to be a light, not by doing spiritual things or acting enlightened, but simply by being present, by remaining awake, by allowing consciousness to shine through you without the obstruction of ego. And this light, this presence, this love, is what the world needs. Not more doing, not more achieving, not more striving, but more being. More presence. More awareness. More love. And you can offer this simply by being what you are, by recognizing what you are, by living from what you are. This is not a burden. This is not a responsibility in the heavy sense. This is simply what naturally happens when you awaken. You cannot help but be a presence in the world. You cannot help but love. You cannot help but serve the awakening of consciousness. Because you are consciousness. You are love. You are presence itself. So do not worry about how to live this or what to do with this recognition. Simply be it. Simply rest in it. Simply allow it to inform your life naturally, organically, without effort or strain. Trust that consciousness knows what it is doing, that awareness knows how to express itself, that love knows how to love. Your only job is to remain present, to stay awake, to not get lost in the dream of separation again. And even when you do get lost, which you will, simply notice and return. Notice and return. This is the practice. This is the path. This is the way. And each time you return, you strengthen the recognition. You deepen the realization. You stabilize the awareness. Until one day, you notice that you are no longer forgetting as often. You are no longer getting lost as deeply. You are no longer identified as strongly. The presence is becoming more stable, more consistent, more natural. But do not make this into a goal. Do not turn awakening into another achievement for the ego to pursue. Simply be present now, in this moment, and let the future take care of itself. For the future is just a thought, just a concept, just a story the mind tells. The only reality is now. The only truth is here. The only life is this moment. And in this moment, you are already awake. You are already present. You are already love. Not as something you will become, but as what you are. Right now. right here. In this simple, obvious, immediate awareness that is aware of these words. Can you feel it? Can you sense it? Not with your mind, but with something deeper. The presence that is always here. The awareness that never leaves. The love that is your nature. It is not far away. It is not hidden. It is not difficult to find. It is what you are. It is what is reading these words. It is what is experiencing this moment. And this is the great secret, the ultimate truth, the final teaching. You are what you seek. You are where you long to be. You are who you have always wanted to become. Not in the future, not after more practice, not when you are more evolved, but now. In this moment. As you are. So stop seeking. Stop striving. Stop trying to become something other than what you are. And simply be. Be here. Be now. Be aware. Be present. Be love. This is all that is required. This is all that has ever been required. And it is so simple, so obvious, so immediate, that the mind cannot grasp it. But you are not the mind. You are the awareness in which the mind appears. You are the consciousness that is aware of thought. You are the presence that exists before, during, and after all experience. And this presence, this awareness, this consciousness, is love. Not love as emotion or attachment, but love as the fundamental yes to existence, the unconditional allowing of what is, the recognition that all things are expressions of the one consciousness. And now, the words fade, but the silence remains. If you felt the stillness within this message, stay. Subscribe, not to follow, but to remember again and again that presence is always here, waiting beneath every thought. The true teaching is not in the words you just heard, but in the space between them.